Hello and welcome to an episode on Gods Unchained. Today I'm going to show you how I built my free-to-play light deck. It did help me get to mythic. I also ran a death deck as well. So let's just jump into the deck builder. So for this deck, our win condition is going to be flood the board with as many low strength creatures as possible. And then when we get to 6 mana, we're going to drop a legendary card called Asterius, which is then going to buff the strength and health of all them low statted creatures to make them all pretty beefy and then wipe out our opponent. And to do that, we need to keep control of the board from the very first turn. Well, get control of the board from first turn, maintain board presence, and then finish them off. So let's throw in the high cost creatures first. So here's Asterius, and we're only going to throw one in because it's a legendary, you only get one copy of them. And that is going to be where our deck tops out. We're only going to have the 1/6 mana cost creature, and that's it. We're not going to bother with any 7, 8, and 9. We don't want any games to go that high. If it does, then we're probably going to get whooped as well. So we're going to get to 6 mana, drop this, and hopefully finish the game off and win. Now, for a light deck, there are a few cards that are kind of staples in the deck, if you like. So let's go back down to 3 mana. And staples for the deck are light levies. Got to have 2 of these in. It's going to help you take a creature from your opponent and get one in its place, so that you're going to help keep control of the board throughout. So we're going to drop 2 of them in. Now, I only have 1 copy of Bright Mage. I'd like to have 2 in the deck, but I only have 1. So if you've got 2, throw 2 in. It's got ward and it's got pretty good stats, so it's very hard for your opponent to get around, especially when we want to keep control of the board as well. So we're going to just throw the only copy I have in. And now down to the 2 mana cards. Battlement Luminary. It's only a 2 mana cost creature, but it's going to buff the health of all of the creatures as soon as it enters the board. So if we've got a wide board, we can buff the health of them all, and it makes it very awkward for your opponent to deal with. So we're going to drop 2 of these in. Now, Devoted Follower, it's got ward, and it's got fairly high strength, so it's a really powerful creature to have. It's hard for your opponent to play around because of its ward. However, if you throw it out there early on, and you're just going to be handing it on the plate to your opponent for them to just throw at an Axewoman and take care of it. So it's not something you'd use a bag of tricks for and throw out on turn 1, but it can be pretty handy for an already established board. We're going to drop 2 of them in. And now for other creatures, the Axewoman, it's got Blitz, so as soon as it enters the board, you can take care of an opponent's creature. It's very handy, good stats. We're going to drop 2 of them in. Skeleton Heavy, it's got 2 strength, so it does benefit from the effects of Asterius, and it's got a lot of health. It's another one that's awkward for your opponent to deal with, so we're going to throw 2 of them in as well. You should, I think, have 2 copies pretty early on of that. Now, we're going to throw some more 2 mana cards in a moment, and we're going to throw some 4 mana cost creatures in a moment. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you the 1 mana cost creatures and then talk about how we decide to fill the deck in with other cards, because there are some cards I don't have. Like I said, I've only got 1 copy of Bright Mage, so because I don't have the second copy, I've got to find a way of making the deck up with another card that could possibly work in its place for the time being. So, yet again, like I've only got 1 copy of Bright Mage, I only have 1 copy of Blind Martyr, and this is another staple for pretty much any light deck that's using Asterius. So it's got front line, and as soon as your opponent's wiped it out, you get every other creature gets 2 health. Now this card, it's awkward to play at times. If you're against Deception, sorry, then they could just Umber Arrow it, and they're going to benefit from the effect of it if they just run it into a creature. So you've got to be careful using it against Deception. And then if you use it against a light, it's a perfect light to levy target. They completely null the benefits from it, and That's that, you just give them the blind martyr to swap. A sail weaver, it's a 1 mana cost creature. We like them in this deck. It's got ward, so it can't just be targeted with soul burn, especially with how much death is going around at the moment in the meta. However, again, you don't throw it out on turn 1 ideally because it's only got two health, and Axewoman will just run right through it, and then you're going to lose control of the board. Shield bearers, they're going to buff your creatures, and that's what we like in this deck. The idea is to keep buffing creatures, so we're going to throw 2 of these in. And on the topic of buffs, Trial Spirit, give a friendly creature +1 health, helps it survive longer again, and that's what we want, so we're going to throw 2 of them in. A Wild Hog, it's got good stats for a 1 mana cost creature. They are in so many decks, so we're going to throw 2 in. And now, as you can see already, we're not far off having the deck finished, and we're very heavy on 1 and 2 mana drop creatures. And that's ideal because we want to keep the board full as possible. Every time we draw a card, we want to be either playing that or the God Power, for the God Power being to summon a 2/2 Acolyte. And then for the rest of the cards, you've got some options. You could throw in some Chalice Priests. They can be handy with the back line, that it can't just be targeted very easily by an opponent. So every time your opponent summons a creature, you can reduce its strength to 2. It's very handy if you want to be keeping control of the board and wiping out creatures. I've run it a few times and I can make it work, but then there are also times if you're wanting to keep control of the board, it can't attack, it just got the ability. It's hard to keep control of the board when it can't attack. That's the reason I took it out initially. What else do we have in here? Go down to 4 mana cost creatures. We've got a spell, Imperious Smite. They're in a lot of light decks, to be honest. I throw 2 of these in. Now, if I had another copy of things like Bright Mage and Blind Martyr, I probably wouldn't run Holy Enchanter. But because I don't, I'm going to run this for the effect. Give +2 health to each other friendly creature. And like this deck is about getting the board as wide as possible, buffing the creatures and keeping them alive until we can finish our opponent off. This can come in very handy. Only thing is, you've got to have an already established board to get any value out of it. But we're going to throw 2 in anyway. Now we have 5 cards remaining. Because this is free to play, I don't have access to Genesis cards like Pyramid Wardens. So instead of a Pyramid Warden, I'm going to throw 2 Barricades in. It's got the front line, so an opponent can't just run into another creature that you don't want to get taken care of, like maybe a Sail Weavers or any other creature with 2 health, 2 strength, sorry, because we want to use Asterius to buff them. So we're going to throw 2 of these in. And having cards that have this raw deal X amount of damage, they're very handy in a deck like this. I don't have any Athenian Archers, which is a 1 mana cost creature that has the same ability, raw deal 1 damage. So I don't have any of the Athenian Archers, and I only have 1 copy of the Ranger First spell. So I can only throw the 1 in. If you had other copies of the Athenian Archer or another copy of Ranger First spell, you could probably throw them in instead of a barricade, or maybe take out one of the Holy Enchanters. And then finally, we've got 2 cards left. We don't have the second copy of Blind Martyr, so we're going to want to throw in 2 1 mana cost creatures. And the card I have chosen to go with is the Wiccan Trapper. It's the only reason I've got this in here is because, well, we need to make the deck up, and it's got an ability, Raw, remove 1 durability from your opponent's relic. And there are some relics that are really awkward to play around. There's a Skull Scepter in many death decks now, and trying to get rid of it, it's very annoying if you can't beat your opponent to, say, something in the Sanctum like the Nefarious Briar, and then trying to find a way of playing the Nefarious Briar when this deck is all about keeping control of the board. It's a bit awkward, so this helps us deal with certain relics like that. And also, there are some war decks that are focused around buffing relics and then doing a 1-hit, 1-turn kill on your opponent, and this can just remove them to save you, really. We're going to throw 2 of them in, and that is the deck. It's very heavy on 1 mana cost creatures, very heavy on the 2 drops, and then it thins out up to 6 and nothing on. We don't have any 5 mana drops here. If we weren't free to play and we were using Genesis cards or Trial of the Gods cards, then we would definitely have 2 canonized in here, because that would also be a win condition. It's buffs a creature by, I think, 3 strength, 3 health. I'm not 100% sure, but it also gives it protected. Or it might be buff it by 5/5. I'm not 100%. I don't have it, but yeah, that would be a win condition as well. But we don't have access to that, so that is what the deck looks like. So with that out of the way, we're going to run into a few games, show you how to play it, and hopefully by the time I'm done, I can get a legendary pack to open with you, because I am looking forward to a new legendary.
I like this for an opening hand. No point keeping a blind martyr, it just gets lights levied if we're to try and mulligan for that, so I feel like this is a strong start.
With justice as my shield,
here we can buff the hogger.
Is that me?
Maybe keep
Over
control
there?
of the board.
Looking at me? Lucky me. My turn.
Doesn't really matter where this goes here. Throw a front line out. Now we hog and a luminary.
That's enough for now.
So we've got the wide board here, which is ideal.
Time to act.
We're going to have to run a hog in here. Make the trade. Hopefully it goes. We want it to go there. We're going to get a acolyte out because the 1 damage isn't going to do much here, really.
That's enough for now.
If I had a bag of tricks, I could have got Asterius out a turn earlier, but as long as we can keep their board low, they won't be able to, so it's alright. Let's see where the hog goes. Hopefully it goes. Actually, if we do it this way, we can finish that off. See where the hog goes. Not where we wanted. God power. And now we've still got the wide board. We're setting up Asterius pretty nicely here.
My turn.
So Lights Levy comes in pretty clutch here, to be honest. We can take this off them, throw this out to get rid of their relic. Now next turn we're sitting pretty comfortably for an Asterius. They're not going to be able to grab anything from the Sanctum this turn, so if we want anything we can grab it next turn round. We don't need to worry right now. Right, so they've got the Highborn Knight, but we've got the Asterius to drop the absolute bomb here. Let's make sure this hits the Knight. We'll keep the board wide. And if we want, we can drop. There we go, got the fatigue. Asterius, coming pretty clutch there. And that's the idea, to keep the opponent's board as limited as possible. So if you want to attack, you don't mind your creatures going to low health, because hopefully they're not going to have some type of board wipe. I mean, if you're playing against War and they drop something, I think it's Auric Rush, or there's something that deals 1 damage to each creature, then it can kind of ruin your day. And then Magic have so many board clears, so you've got to be careful for them, which is why we've got some warded creatures in this deck. But that's the idea, to keep the board wide and, well, go wide and then keep it wide throughout the whole game.